everybody. Good evening, good morning for some. Welcome to this beautiful, unique session. Wholehearted welcome to you all, esteemed delegates and friends, to yet another live session of Panorama International Literature Festival, the signature program of the Writers' Capital International Foundation. I am Secretary General, Panorama Festival's Chief Coordinator Global, Irene Dura-Cavadia, extending you a warm embrace from Athens, Greece. It is with excitement that I welcome you all today in this live session of our beloved Panorama Festival, which to us literateurs is actually a celebration of literature and of life. As we in Writers' Capital bridge cultures and unite nations, we have joined all together in the realm where life meets literature and vice versa. At this point, I have the pleasure to deliver to you, as always, the heartfelt congratulations and the best wishes from our Honorable Founder, President, and CEO of the Writers' Capital Foundation and Panorama Festival's Chairman, poet, author, educationist, and ardent humanitarian, Preet Nambiar. He is the mastermind behind the vision of the Foundation's programs, as well as the highly inspirational theme of Panorama, which hundreds of writers across the world have been able to delve into. This season, the drop of life, or the classic element of water, like our previous season's theme, the spark or the element of fire, is also closely related to the impact of global warming and its shortage. It is as well with great joy and a sense of pride as a Greek that I welcome the world to immerse itself in the brilliance of Ephemeris, a masterpiece whose very title resonates deeply with my cultural heritage. Rooted in the ancient Greek word ephemeris, meaning diary, or even a fleeting moment, something very, very small that goes away, this title perfectly encapsulates the essence of this extraordinary animated short film by Sankara J. Ant. We are delighted to present Ephemeris, a mesmerizing fusion of art, animation, and sound design inspired by the Japanese art form of haiku. This work interlaces breathtaking visuals with profound haiku poetry, creating a poetic and visual experience that transcends boundaries. The session promises to be a celebration of creativity and artistry. Let us cherish this cinematic gem together, united in appreciation for its ephemeral beauty. I also have the pleasure to welcome Ms. Kala Ramesh, who will be the curator of the session, and let me say a few words about her and her extraordinary journey. Kala Ramesh is the founder and director of Triveni Haiku India and Haiku Kata Journal, and a Pushcart Prize nominee. Kala Ramesh conceptualized Triveni Curriculum Mentorship Program in 2021. She's also the editor-in-chief of the award-winning Naad, Anunad, an anthology of contemporary world haiku in 2016, author of Haiku, an award-winning illustrated children's book, Kata, in 2010 and reprinted in 2017. Her book, Beyond the Horizon, was shortlisted for the Rabindranath Tagore Literary Prize in 2019. Kala authored The Forest I Know, HarperCollins, August 2021, and co-edited the anthology Amber I Pause, Haukal in 2023. I hope I'm somehow saying the words right. An external faculty member of Symbiosis International University, Pune, Kala taught the 60-hour Haikai course to undergraduates from 2012 to 2021, the first in her country. Congratulations! To bring haiku into everyday spaces, she has initiated several projects and organized 8 haiku conferences in India. She has conducted haiku, tanka, and haibun workshops for the public and haiku enthusiasts for the past 17 years. The latest being at the Kala Goda Arts Festival on 6 February 2023, where the organizers had to put up the haiku house full board outside the venue. Congratulations for this magnificent journey, dear Kala Ramesh. Most welcome. The dais to this beautiful session is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for all this. Namaskar. Good morning. Good evening. And for Indians, it's almost a good night. This is a special day and a very special event for haiku poets world over. For this year, haiku is being showcased at the Panorama International Literary Festival in a grand way. Our heartfelt thanks to Preet Padmanabhan Nambiar, the founder and president, and his wonderful team. We have with us a promising young Haijin whose short film, as succinct as haiku itself, is to be inaugurated now. It is an animated Haiga film titled Ephemeris. Haiga is a style of Japanese painting that incorporates the aesthetics of haikai literature. Haiga is often accompanied by a haiku poem which is painted by the artist. Like the poetic form it accompanies, Haiga is based on simple yet profound observations of the everyday world. Nowadays, collaboration between the artist and haiku poet is popular. Susumu Takiguchi, the founder of the World Haiku Review, once commented that two artists coming together, one a painter and the other a poet, each carrying a different world within, will be twice as spectacular. In the film you are about to see, we present you with 7 such collaborations. The artist is Sankara Jayant Sudhanagunta from India, and the Haijin are Alan Summers from the UK, Debbie Strange from Canada, Vandana Parashar from India, Ravi Kiran from India, John Stevenson from the United States of America, Kala Ramesh, yours truly, from India, and Ron C. Moss from Australia. A beautiful representation from around the globe. I now call upon the star of the evening, Shankara Jayant. He will speak about the creation of a short Haiga film. Over to you, Shankara.
Thank you, Kala. Uh, First of all, thank you to the hosts here and Panorama International Literature Festival for hosting us and allowing us to present this short film here. And an immense thank you to all the 7 of you, because it was a wonderful experience doing this with you. I didn't envision this when I did the animations, but I knew I wanted this to be a Haiga short film. But once I resolved that, okay, I want the best in the haiku world to do the haiku and create the Haiga short film. I really enjoyed doing this, because truly, once I finished making the film, all I can say is that it's a unique experience, that something popped up, a narration popped up from each of your haiku, that I didn't have to struggle too much to make it into a short film. So, and I think that speaks to the way haiku speaks through all of us, or how we channel our own experiences through this art form. So there is a harmony, I think, that came up, that was very, very pleasing as an artist for me. And about me, I'm a software engineer by day. and a confused person, but the rest of the time, I dabble in haikai poetry and visual art forms because I usually struggle staying on the same thing for a long time. So, but haikai form has stuck with me because somehow it allows me to calm down, which is not my normal state of being, to be honest. Um, haikai literature, like reading and writing. Honestly, I have to say, I have this love for haiku comes first for reading, right? Only I have to say that the closest thing that comes to meditation for me is working on something related to haiku. Either it is reading or writing haiku or painting something with the aesthetics that are inside me that are dictated by this haikai form. So you will see in the short film that these are some of the things that have been driving me in terms of the visual art that you will see. And the seven incredible accomplished poets have done an amazing job writing haiku. Some have written it very quickly and very aptly, and that literally stuck with the scenes that were present in the film. And again, it's an honor to have collaborated with all the seven. Sincere thanks to all of you. So yeah, just to introduce the film, Ephemeris means, as Irene said, honestly, I did not know about that etymology of the word, but its actual meaning, dictionary meaning that I saw was that it is a table giving the calculated position of celestial objects at regular intervals in time. So you will see why the short film is titled this once you watch the film, and what themes that pop up in the haiku that the collaborating poets have written. I think once you see this, it will be obvious why it is named this, and how whether it goes along with the theme or whether it contrasts it. I think there is a play there that it will be fun to understand. Yeah, I think that's it from me, Kala.
Okay,
So
then I think we can inaugurate the film. It's,
yeah.
yes, we go ahead.
Okay, so I will share my screen and play the film. So let just raise your hand if the audio is not good or if you find any issues with the video.
Congratulations on this wonderful endeavor. Uh, True, this is also another meaning of the word ephemeral, because also the places of the stars are never the same, right? Because um, the Earth orbits as well, and it's also a third thing that I left it to be said by you.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, we can see the screen, but now it is black.
Yeah, it is black,
All
but
right. Yes, we can see that. Yes, yes.
okay. So
Continue, please.
yeah, I'm muting myself. Just raise your hand if something is not right. that was it.
Excellent. Very good. For the final, when we repeat, can the whole thing can be shown on a full screen? Is that possible?
It was in the full screen, right? On the sides, there will be black bars that we cannot
But
take
still,
out.
we could see you, so that panel was there. The whole
Ah,
thing could be.
okay.
Just a suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we now, after this beautiful short film, we now go on to the speakers. We start with Alan Summers. Over to you, Alan.
Hello. Okay. I'll read the haiku again, and I will repeat it a few times. The view from the graffiti train window. Haiku verse may be the smallest poem that there is, and it might contain at least a whole planet in its grain of sand. My haiku is of two viewpoints, both in a literal, real sense and perhaps a hidden metaphor. Each reader will see something differently, or even not at all. Let's see what my haiku might be about. It's both about movement and the creative arts, whether allowed to be legal or seen as a criminal act, which constantly weaves in and out of society. Many times over the centuries, the written word has been challenged and perhaps years later been revered, only to be outlawed again. My haiku verse is words talking about the visual art of graffiti, which has often sat easily or uneasily between a misdemeanor or an outright crime. Graffiti. The view from the graffiti train window. When I saw the image of the sideboard, I'll say that again. When I saw the image for the signboard, it made me think of the various signboards we see when traveling. In my case, it's very much train travel and looking out for the signs that tell me I am definitely at a train station I need. As I recently made several train transfers where I had to get off onto the correct train station, it was vital to pay attention and focus. People use trains to leave home to get to work and then leave work for home by that train journey in reverse. The subtle nod of human locomotion of almost every day of our lives, that home to work, back to home movement of travel. And without putting the actual word of home, it felt important to have that resonance there. As humans, we often leave out words that are so important we don't feel the need to express them openly and loudly. As most people feel the need to express themselves, we often see different types of graffiti. That includes seeing and witnessing graffiti from a train window. Or even the graffiti artist has turned around and is observing a train passing by and hopes to see the expressions on people's faces in each train car. A view from the graffiti train window. There are those people who create graffiti and renew it over and over again with other artwork. I've witnessed this in my current town where I live, and my childhood city of Bristol, where Banksy originated from, where he rented a place not far from Bristol Temple Meads train station, which he could see from his flat. His rented place. Is the view from a train window itself, or train passengers witnessing graffiti old and new, or someone on the way to work or going back home, or someone standing by old or fresh graffiti watching the train go past? Or is it the window that is covered in graffiti, using its thick dust and dirt? Or perhaps there's aerosol graffiti surrounding the train window. Perhaps we are the graffiti. So, as after all, are we not living, breathing works of art with all the contradictions of life that we constantly face and experience? A view from the graffiti train window. Thank you.
Lovely interpretation. Thank you, Alan, for this. It was layered. Very sweet, very sweet. We now have Debbie Strange, but she was not able to join us here. So Vandana Parashar will be reading her write-up. Isn't it, Vandana?
Yes,
Please
yes.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
As Debbie Strange couldn't be here because of her chronic illness, and I asked her if she wanted me to be her mouthpiece and say a few words to the audience about her haiku, and she happily agreed. I'll first read her haiku to put things in perspective. Marsh dusk, we pass through light into shadow. Marsh dusk, we pass through light into shadow. This is what she has to say about her haiku. My haiku was written as a call and answer response to the haiga, as well as to the other selected poems. It can be read both literally and metaphorically. At dusk, the world is in a state of transition from daylight to nightfall. We too are in a transitory state as we pass through this life, emerging into light at birth and into shadow at death. The way the film slowly progresses from one frame to the next reminds me of this transient nature of our existence. The moon pulls us from scene to scene in much the same way as its phases influence all life on this planet. Now coming to my haiku.
Now we go
Yeah.
on to Vandana
Yeah.
Parashar. Yes, over to you, Vandana.
Thank you, Kala. Before I tell how my haiku came into being, I would like to quote an excerpt from First Thoughts, a haiku primer by Jim Kashian, who is the founder and the chair of board of the Haiku Foundation. He writes, and I quote, "It has happened to all of us in the course of our ordinary day, doing something we have done 100 times before. We are arrested by something we see or smell or feel. For whatever reason, this time it strikes us in a way that it has never done before. And yet, it seems as if we have always known it to be this way. It may be deep, it may be transitory, but regardless, we are changed. We can never feel the same about this experience again. We have had a moment of insight, a seeing deeper into the workings of the world. Sometimes these moments are private in nature, springing from deep within us, and so might resist our attempts to verbalize them. But often they are so persuasive, so attractive that we want to share them and so we do our utmost to find a way to make them communicable. When we make this attempt, we enter into the realm of poetry. And the poetic form we must often find meets our needs in such a situation as haiku. And here's my haiku for reference. Away from home, the first snow slips off a bare branch. Away from home, the first snow slips off a bare branch. Haiku is not only a form of poetry, it's a way of living, it's a way of thinking. Once you start to see the world with haiku eyes and perceive the world with haiku mind, there is no going back. A haiku poet doesn't tell the reader how to feel, but takes the reader to a place where they experience it directly. In a way, a haiku poet makes space for the reader to step in and make the poem their own, drawing from their own experiences. And let's see if I was able to do that. So when Shankara showed me his art, I was mesmerized by the imagery. It was like a story unfolding. And to everyone's surprise, all the poets, unbeknownst to others, wrote haiku that presented a beautiful narrative.
Yes.
And I chose the image of a bare branch because something about it tugged at my heart. And like Jim said, it needed to be expressed in words. See, I've lost both my parents, and my childhood home is locked now. I'm 50. I'm mother of 2 daughters. But still, there are some days, there are times when I'm tired of adulting. And I want, honestly, I want nothing more than to be a little girl again and to have my parents love and care for me like before. But now I feel like I'm like that bare bow with nothing at all to shield me. And this yearning for home, this yearning for my parents' love, this yearning is like the first snow. It weighs on me for some time and then silently slips away, leaving me with a lingering feeling of loss and making me realize that I have responsibilities to fulfill and that no matter what, life goes on. That's it. Thank you.
Lovely. Nice. Very nicely done. We now go on to Ravi Kiran. Yes, Ravi.
Thank you, Kala. Thank you so much. Here to start with a word of thanks, but thanks to Shankara for this wonderful opportunity. The feeling is yet to sink in fully. And looking at today's gathering and looking at where the video has started taking baby steps, I'm sure this is a beginning of a journey, and it's going to go many more places and along this thing. Having said that, just to have a brief recap of my one-line haiku, or a monoku as it is called: muddy waters, a lotus perfumes the night. What actually drew me to haiku a few years back was the minimalism. Now, I was aware of the fact that minimalism is a essential ingredient of Japanese lifestyle. So I had dabbled in bonsai for a good decade plus before kind of moving on. And then I was into photography, which again, my topic was minimalistic photography. So it was a natural transition for me to look at haiku. And one of the things about haiku, in fact, they say this in the Japanese aesthetics, is wabi sabi. Now, I'm sure all of you are aware of what it is, but just to put it in perspective, especially in perspective to my haiku, I'd like to briefly state what wabi sabi is all about. Wabi is more about solitude and the minimalism. Actually, it basically originally it was interpreted to be more in terms of loneliness, in terms of solitude, being away from the city, and just realizing how little it takes to find peace and contemplation and even joy. So that's the Vabi part of it. And Sabi part of it is two things very specifically, and that's what it means to me, is finding beauty in impermanence and in imperfection. Because we live in a world where more is better and where we all strive for perfection, and even a spot or a dot or a blemish is considered something that is intolerable. And yet, the Sabi part of it celebrates life the way it is, celebrates the imperfections, and things like kintsugi, which is putting together a broken ceramic vase or a cup with inlaid gold, are some classic examples. Now, to translate this and see how my haiku captures these features is something like this. Now, when you look at a lotus, especially at night, sticking out of a pond, and you can't find a better example in my understanding of solitude. I'm still one of those people who does, people call me crazy, but I do solo holidays. I still like being by myself if I can help it. So I could so relate to it. And the solitude of the lotus is highlighted by the fact that it is night. In daytime, anyway, it is all by itself, but in nighttime, the solitude is highlighted. So that is the Vabi part of the haiku. And that's one of the reasons I instantly grabbed this image. I asked Sankara, is this taken? He said, no. And I said, block it for me. So I was lucky to get the first mover advantage, if I can say so. So that is how it started. And then when looking at the second part of it, which is the Sabi part of it, if you actually see how a lotus is, the first two words describe it: muddy waters. Now, those are not the environment which anyone or anything would like to be. When they're murky, they're kind of teeming with the not so perfect hygienic stuff, and maybe it is far from perfect, and yet. And that's the sappy part of it. That is the imperfect environment, or that imperfect environment is a lotus blooming. And then I touch upon another aspect which we haiku poets do, which is sense switching or synesthesia, which is, well, yes, lotus is a flower. It does have a delicate fragrance, which draws bats to pollinate it, one among the few things that actually pollinate a lotus flower. But it is perfuming not just the environment, but it is perfuming the night. So that is the sense switching there I kind of was able to bring in. And then now Sankara made my life difficult by saying, Ravi, please keep the moon out of it. I was like, it is such a beautiful combination. I mean, the lotus and the pond. Water was the theme of, the Brightest Capital Foundation's event this year, the Literary Fest this year. And he said, keep the moon out of it. I was kind of, for a short while, it was actually hard. But then we in haiku again have a technique called show don't tell. Well, I didn't have to spell it out in the few words of my one line haiku, but then it was there in the haiga to be seen. So I extended the haiku to touch upon, we poets are creative people, to say the lotus is not just perfuming the night, but the night, when the moon is there, the moonlight is also there. So it is extending and perfuming even the moonlight. Now, I can go on and on. So, but I guess you get the picture, and that's one of the reasons why haiku is called a reader's art. A poet can write it from his perspective, and a reader can have his own take, and then there is no end to way it can be interpreted. So this is what I could see. I'm very sure that this is not the only way. Every reader will have a different way of seeing it. But I was so glad to have put this together. Again, thanks everyone, especially Sankara and Kala for making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. That was a beautiful interpretation. We now go on to John Stevenson. John?
Thank you, Kala. Well, I'd like to share some thoughts about the idea of spontaneity and spontaneity in a haiku context. I heard what I think is a really useful definition of spontaneity some years ago in the context of my theater work. I wish I knew who actually originated this idea, because I'd like to give them credit, but I don't know. But a useful definition of spontaneity might be either an adequate response to new circumstances, or a new response to familiar circumstances. I think a haiku can be written either way. But for me, this idea of spontaneity is very close to the other idea of inspiration. And all poetry, I think, in fact, pretty much all art, I think, has these two elements of inspiration and craft. And in a sense, inspiration is the art of art, and craft is the science of art. For a poem to be successful, any poem, including a little tiny haiku, both things need to be working. So I saw this image of what looked to me like guardrails, maybe next to a highway, and the moon. I'm very interested in spontaneity in my work in general. I have had some really wonderful experiences with performing or composing poetry before a live audience with a dance company in New York City. And I've worked in a number of workshops where I've offered people an opportunity to find spontaneity. So I wrote what I wrote. I wrote as fast as I could type it. What I wrote was the moon's path and my path home. Now, what I saw in the image was that there is there is what I took to be guardrails again. So that implies some kind of a road for me. And then there's the moon. And the moon is in motion. And presumably, since I'm not going to spend the whole night out there at that spot along the guardrails, I'm in motion as well. I'm on my way home. I know that. Is the moon on its way home? That seems kind of far-fetched. On the other hand, the person that we look to as kind of the Shakespeare of haiku, the Japanese poet Basho, he tells us that the journey itself is home. Thank you.
Beautiful, John. Thank you so much. I now go on to my interpretation of my poem. Just give a short introduction. Haiku is a Japanese art form that is more than 400 years old. Mention your interest in haiku, and you'll likely witness a spark of interest in people's eyes. In India, it is so. Indians are awakening to its allure, and the reasons are not far to seek. Haiku embodies nature's creative essence, drawing parallels with the hymns of praise to nature found in the Rig Veda. In India, we continue to follow the lunisolar calendars for festivals and significant occasions. To this day, marriages, housewarming ceremonies, and ancestral rites are scheduled based on the lunar phases. The moon also plays a huge role in haikai literature. So when Sankara showed me his paintings, all based on the full moon, I loved them. In the silence between notes, between words, between lines, the emotional quotient that arises is rasa, as we say in India. That which gives poetry, music, dance, or any other art form greater depth and resonance. Rasa is something that cannot be described in words because it has taken us to a sublime plane where all sounds have dropped away. In haiku, we call this space or silence ma. This Japanese word can have a spatial meaning, such as empty space or blank space, a temporal meaning, such as silence, a psychological meaning, all giving an elbow room for the poem to weave its magic. As Professor Hasegawa Kai, scholar and well-known Japanese author, says, Ma is at work in various areas of life and culture in Japan. Without doubt, Japanese culture is a culture of Ma. This is the case with haiku as well. Haiku happens when two or more images come together. A combination of images is known as toriawase. Toriawase is a mixing or joining of two or more things together to form a single whole. Susumu Takiguchi, I quote him again, says in an essay, the word toriawase is still used in modern Japanese, especially in cooking, where it means for the cook to work out the best combination of ingredients to produce the most delicious food. It may therefore be that the quickest way for non-Japanese hygiene to learn what toriawase means is to visit a Japanese restaurant for the next meal. In the painting, we see the full moon in all its brilliance, revealed from behind swiftly moving clouds. That alone cannot make a haiku, or maybe it can, but for me it did at that moment. You need to build a combination of images to bring fullness to the haiku, and create a sense of satisfaction for the readers. My poem, Parting Clouds, Trees festive with raindrops. Parting clouds, trees festive with raindrops. I mean, it's clear when the clouds part and we are seeing the full moon. The full moon, of course, reflects on each raindrop, catches the full moon, and from far, it looks like the tree is lit. Like we do it for Diwali, or we do it for Christmas, or for any of the functions, and that is what it's meant. Parting clouds, trees festive with raindrops. The high and the low which Basho there often spoke about. Trees are looking festive with raindrops, combined with the parting clouds, provide a good example of Toriyawase, which brings life into this haiku. We move on to Ron Moss's poem, The Last, and it sort of finishes the whole narration. The narrative arc is beautifully ends with Ron's poem. Almost home, the sound of moonlight in a breaking wave. Almost home, the sound of moonlight in a breaking wave. It was a great pleasure and an interesting challenge to write a haiku to Shankara's evocative animated film. It was great to see the synergy between the poets as we wrote independently of each other. My seed image was of a house, or perhaps a seaside hut, which gave me the link to the ocean, which I swim in daily. I have always felt deeply connected to the sea and the inspiration of the full moon and its guiding light, which is always there to enlighten us. I like to send switch in my haiku and trigger a response of a different kind and leave some mystery. What indeed could be the sound of moonlight in a breaking wave, along with that feeling of a great journey that was almost over? Ron C. Moss, Tasmania, Australia. This whole short film has come together well with the theme of this festival, Jalam, or water. Shankara, over to you for a second screening of the film.
Yes. Thanks, Kala. Thanks, everyone. So I'll play the film again. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you're able to see.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Sankara, for this. And thanks to every poet who has come here, who has written the poems and written it so well that Shankara could just put it in a very good order, I think. It's looking beautiful and the music is good too. Thank you. Would you like to say something, Shankara, about the whole event?
Not much, but I think it was wonderful. We miss Debbie and Ron who couldn't be here, but stay sharing the stage with all of you. Ravi, Alan, Vandana, John, Kala. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for this collaboration. I take a lot from it. There's, as Ravi said, there is a lot to sink in as it is with our haikai forms. So I think there is still a lot I could learn from the way you have written haiku for the artworks that I have given you. So it was wonderful experience. I hope I can do this again with you, all of you, someday.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone. Uh, should we end it? I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then. So let's end it.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Nice seeing you all.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, it's been lovely. I don't know whether I guess they'll cut it off, no? The last bit. We can just talk. I think that shouldn't be a problem. No, editing should be.
I'm going to make some comments about the film and how it relates to haiku, just among ourselves.
Yes.
You know, watching it again, I suddenly realized, you know, every portion of it has got three elements. You know, we have the moon moving in the background. It's a background because there's something closer to us, some object closer to us. And then, of course, there's the observer, you know, which is the third part. And haiku are exactly that same way. You know, there are two parts, and then there's a separation, you know, a kareji, you know. In each of these images, the kareji was, you know, the signpost or the house or the tree or the guardrails or whatever, you know. It all had, you know, the whole thing had the shape of haiku. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Even I thought it is each poem stood out for its collaboration, and the paintings were gorgeous, Shankara. I love the way it just dissolved and then the next one started. It was very well done. Because when I asked him to elongate it, he said, Kala, I've lost that brush. I don't know that brush. I don't know how I did it, but no, I cannot replicate it.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. What I also liked that is very clever is the little sounds, which I didn't pick up the first preview viewing we had, but the little sounds.
Yeah, in addition to the music.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just so that's what haiku can do. It doesn't have to directly address those other sounds, but you can start to feel and hear them. And I thought that really worked well, Sankara. I don't know how you did it, but yeah. It's
No,
alchemy.
he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
I have followed you for a long time, as you know, with both your artwork and all the other things. And thank you again for publishing me years ago as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Right, so we're here till midnight, are we? All time zones?
No, it is now 9 o'clock for us, 9 o'clock night.
Yeah. I shall say au revoir, but never
Yes.
goodbye.
Namaskaram to everybody.
I just want to say
Goodbye
hi
again.
specifically. I want to say hi specifically to Ravi. You know, like I've never seen you before, so or I may have seen you in a group of people. You know, but and not really, heard you talk and so on. So this is special for that reason as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. Means a lot.
An extra gifts meeting.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.